I hope you are able to get this question, which is November 2019 old syllabus question. And recently, the pattern of the examination is they're asking many practical oriented problems where a mere computation is not sufficient. They are expecting lot of interpretation skills from you. Nothing new to be learnt. Same formula, a same concept. But how to apply, how to interpret, those things are tested a lot in the recent times. This problem is an example for that. Let us read. Returns of a portfolio A and the market portfolio for last 12 months are indicated below. Market, how much return it has given. Portfolio, how much return it has given. January to December, and the standard deviation also given. You are required to find out the monthly returns attributable to the sheer skill of portfolio manager. What part of monthly return is attributable to higher risk assumed by the portfolio manager? Assume the risk-free rate is 12% per annum and the portfolio is fully diversified. First, let us take the inventory of what are the information available in the problem. Last 12 months return they have given. Market portfolio, that is nothing but market return, like an index return, Nifty return, like that. Market return. And the portfolio A, they are trying to calculate, they are trying to require you to calculate attributable to sheer skill of portfolio manager. So this portfolio, let's take like a mutual fund, the fund managed by the mutual fund manager or a portfolio manager. You can say some fund managed by a mutual fund manager or a portfolio manager. So this is like individual portfolio, and we have a market portfolio, which is market return. Now, in general, what do we tell? We select market as the benchmark. Correct? In general, we select market as the benchmark. Nifty as the benchmark. And in class also we say, whatever the average person, we take the test benchmark. If I score above that I will be called as above average person. In the market also, if I score above Nifty return, then I will be called as, oh, you are performing better than market, you are exceeding the benchmark, you are a very good fund manager. That's regular understanding. First of all, many people don't understand that also. But at least that much, at least you should be aware of it. That Nifty, Sensex will act like a benchmark, market return. And if your fund, if your portfolio performing better than that, that means you are exceeding the benchmark. But there is one catch. If you understand the CAPM in its true essence, you cannot simply say, if I score more return, if I get more return than market, I am performing than market. I cannot tell like that. Why? Can you think? Why? Just outperforming the market does not mean my portfolio giving me superior return. Nifty gave me 12% return and my portfolio giving 15% return. That is not sufficient to prove that my return is superior than market. I am performing well than Nifty. Can you think what could be the reason? When you analyze return, you should not look at pure return. You should also look at risk associated with it. Remember, even in bond valuation, we have a criteria. In bonds, how do we segregate? By risk. This risk is attributable, risk is calculated by credit ratings. In bond, if the rating is bad, we expect higher rate of return. So in some bond, I get 12% return, in some other place I get 8%, you cannot compare because they might belong to different risk. Similarly, even in stock, a large cap HDFC Bank performance cannot be compared with a mid-cap Delta Corporation, cannot be compared with a small cap SpiceJet. So there risk attributes are different. Usually we say large cap, low risk, low return, mid cap, middle risk, mid return, and small cap, higher risk, higher return in a long term. I'm talking about 10 years, 15 years. So you cannot simply compare yourself with the market and you get better return. You can say you are a better performer. You have to see how much risk the market has taken, how much risk you have taken. Can you think what connects between these two, risk of market and risk of portfolio? What is that measure which connects the two, market movement and the portfolio movement? That is beta. Correct. So beta measures the risk of the market movement and security movement. Beta more than 1 means I am taking more risk than market. So return also should be more than market. So this risk adjusted return for an acceptable level of risk, for this level of risk you are supposed to generate this return, that is given by CAPM. CAPM is return that justifies the risk. If you score that return, your fund is performing in line with expectations. If the fund is not performing well, means if you are below, if you are above market but below CAPM return, that means you are not justifying the risk. If you get return beyond CAPM, that is where we say alpha is generated. You understand? The alpha is generated over and above CAPM return, where you got the return exceeding the risk accepted return, risk tolerated return. Beyond that, if you score return, that is what is the alpha that you generated. And in a fund scenario, in a mutual fund scenario, in a portfolio management service scenario, why or how you are able to outsmart the market? Not only outsmart the market, beating the risk adjusted return. You are getting return over than that. You are getting more than CAPM return. That is the skill. That is the efficiency. That is the ability of the fund manager. How we pick the stock. When he bought, when he sold, pure timing. That is, if you get more return than what its risk is supposed to be, that is sheerly attributable to the skill of portfolio manager. So basically, first let's write down what is that requirement they're asking, and accordingly, let us calculate. Okay. So first thing, returns attributable to skill of manager, pure skill, sheer skill, skill of manager alone, sheer skill of manager. That is ability to generate higher return than what it is, than portfolio is, or than what it is. Let's say then the portfolio expected to generate, then the portfolio expected to generate based on its risk profile, so much of return. Ultimately what we are calculating is the Jensen's alpha. Jensen's alpha. What is Jensen's alpha? The return of portfolio, a return of security minus the CAPM return. Now the return or the expected to generate based on risk profile is nothing but CAPM return. And if you score well over that, you're exceeding the expectations. That is what is Jensen's alpha, and that is what is returns attributable to skill of manager. It seems they could have asked the question directly, compute Jensen's alpha. You could have also calculated easily, but they wanted you to think. They wanted you to apply the concept. That is why this type of question. And suddenly, if they ask you conceptual expression like this, many people lose confidence in exam because we learn the concept just numerically. We don't learn it the way it is to be applied. I also tell in regular classes. What is the difference between a good chart accountant and a great chart accountant? The person who knows income tax well is a good chart accountant. The person who knows income tax officer is a great chartered accountant. Hope you understand what I mean. Anyway, I just want to tell you that just looking at the names, knowing the formula is not sufficient. Try to apply. You have to make use of it. So many people learn SFM and after the passing exam, they'll forget about it. I have cleared the exam over. You want to specialize in audit, you start your office or you go taxation, SFM, you forget about it. I understand you may not remember everything, but the purpose of the exam is not just to pass, is to have little bit of value addition. So few concepts here and there, at least you should remember. And nowadays people are forgetting it completely. They're becoming more manual. So institute is giving a shock treatment like this. Not only in this subject, I can see in many subjects, institute is coming with quality conceptual question, case study questions. And I see a lot of students also complaining. Institute is giving difficult questions. During Corona time, Institute is giving difficult questions. One student messaged me, sir, in Corona time, students are in difficult situation. Institute should give easy paper. No, that will not happen. Practically, will client come to you and pay easily? Corona time? No, first of all, they'll tell you, I will pay you later. So during difficult stage, it becomes even more difficult for CS students or CAs that you should know how to survive. Okay, so coming back, we have to calculate the Jensen's alpha, which is what a requirement of problem. So for say this portfolio, we have to calculate CAPM and we have to calculate return of the portfolio. Now for CAPM, what are the things we require? For CAPM, we require three major parameters. I require risk-free rate, I require market return, I require beta. Risk-free rate is given in the question. You see, assume that risk-free rate is 12%. Yes. And market return is not given. Market return is not given. So market return, we have to calculate. Market return, we have the various monthly returns. So I can take an average, right? I can take the average. And based on the average, I can calculate the return. Okay. What about beta? Beta requires what? What is the formula for beta? We have a standard deviation of fund. We have a standard deviation of portfolio, which means what? I can calculate beta. But one missing information is there. What is the formula for beta? I'll use standard deviation of security. I'll use standard deviation of market, which is given in the problem. But one more parameter not given. What is that? One more parameter not given, and that is R, right? Correlation coefficient. What is the formula for beta? R into beta is calculated by R into standard deviation of security or portfolio divided by standard deviation of market. Now standard deviation of security is available. Standard deviation of security available, I mean portfolio available, standard deviation of market available, but the correlation coefficient not available. So this R is not available. So this way of calculating beta will not help. There is one more very beautiful, important interpretation that you can do to compute beta. What is that? They have given that the assume the portfolio is fully diversified. What do you mean by fully diversified? The movement of the portfolio, the movement of the security, we can easily understand by movement of the markets. If the market changes, my portfolio will change. How do you calculate that aspect? What connects between the market and my security or my portfolio? From the market, if I have to come to security, I keep telling you one thumb rule. From the market to come to security is like traveling from market to home, and you take help of bus, that is standing for B for beta. Right? That's what I told you. Systematic variance. In the sense, market variance multiplied by beta square, that is what should be equal to beta of portfolio, here should be equal to portfolio return. It's fully diversified, so we don't have any unsystematic risk. It is fully diversified, therefore it is only portfolio risk. Portfolio variance is calculated by market variance into beta square. So basically it is systematic risk. And unsystematic risk is 0. Unsystematic risk is 0 because they have given portfolio is fully diversified. Portfolio is fully diversified. Okay. Hope you're able to get it. Now, this is what the basic definition of the portfolio risk: systematic risk, unsystematic risk. Portfolio is fully diversified, so unsystematic risk is not there. It's purely on systematic risk. We have portfolio variance, we have market variance. So I will be calculate beta of portfolio. Look at the way question is framed. Such an intelligent way, conceptual way question is framed. And don't blame institute telling that the question paper is difficult. All the concepts are part of the material. So how do we know which new question comes in exam? Yeah, that we don't know. But let me tell you, all the questions will not be new questions in exam. One or two questions can be new. And many questions definitely will be within your conceptual boundary. If you think little bit closely, you will be able to perform well in exams. Like one of the corporate valuation problem I told you. Usually what do we do? D1 by K minus G, we calculate the present value, intrinsic value. Or in one problem they can give you what? But they will give you present value and ask you to compute the growth rate, G. Little bit reverse calculation, that's all, right? It's not a new problem. At least this problem to an extent may be new, but that at least is not a new problem. Like in right shares problem, they'll give you the right ratio and we calculate the X right price. But in some problems, in one exam, they have given the X right price and ask you to compute the right ratio. It's just a mathematical simplification so that your monotonous thinking has been broken by institute, and which is very relevant in the current day because people are becoming so much routine, or we say that phones are becoming smarter, humans are becoming dumb. And day by day, let me tell you, this substitution, these humans are becoming less and less relevant, and CA job is no exception. The auditing job, especially auditing field, many people are forget to add the value addition, so it's losing its relevance also. Institute is trying to think, I don't know, it was told, some rumor, they can just say the way tax audit is applicable only crosses beyond certain limit. Like that, they're trying to do company audit also. Only if the sales or profit crosses beyond certain limit, then only company audit is required, otherwise not compulsory. If that happens, imagine how many CAs will lose job. If you are purely giving value addition, irrespective of the statutory part, you will still get the job. But if you do just because you are protected by government, that it is a statutory audit, you are a watchdog, calling yourself a dog, watchdog, and I mean, don't take me wrongly, it's good process. But what I'm trying to tell you is, at least these days, many people are just giving the report manually without giving any value addition. You will be soon replaced by external force or internal force. Not only that, any job you do, if you do purely manually without any value addition to yourself and to your client, you are going to be outdated, you are going to be outsmarted, you are going to be replaced very soon. Very, very soon. So please don't do it manually. Please don't do it blindly. I'm not telling everything you have to understand to the 100%, but put that effort. Put that effort when you learn something, okay, in this problem, in this concept, what I can learn. Put the effort. You are intelligent. You are great. You are grown up. You have that ability. You are doing articleship. Article students are not dumb students, okay? You have cleared intermediate, which is not a small thing. And you are doing articleship, which is a very difficult task, let me tell you. You understand. I need not tell you. In the morning, you have to take classes, either face-to-face, online, whatever it is. You have to go to the office. You have to get the scolding from the boss. You have to go to the clients. You have to meet the friends. You have to manage girlfriend-boyfriend relationship. You have to go to the when you have to meet the cousins, you have to meet your childhood friends, you have to go out, you have to have some relaxation, and you have to attend some functions, you have to satisfy the parents' questions, why are you not passing CA, you have to satisfy relatives' ego, how much marks you got in the latest exam. CA's career, especially after intermediate, till you pass CA exams, is walking on a fire or catching a fire. It is not easy. And you are forced to do it. You don't have any choice. You are forced to do multitasking. You are forced to do time management. You are forced to cut down your sleep. You are not doing it by choice. You are forced to do it. So you are having that ability. Use it in a good manner also. Try to interpret better. Put the effort. Ask the questions, go to Google, go to internet. I'm sure you'll have some time here and there. You'll be able to find it. Okay, too much of GAN in this session will take away our time. let us come back to the concept. Okay, so the concept is fully diversified. So unsystematic risk is 0. Only systematic risk is there, which is from market variance to portfolio variance we multiplied by beta square. So let's substitute market variance we have given, or if I simplify this formula, beta of portfolio square is market variance, portfolio variance by market variance. So what is the market variance? They have given the standard deviation of the portfolio 1.6223. So 1.6223 square divided by 0.9498. 0.9498 square. In fact, if you take the square root out, you get same answer, right? A portfolio standard deviation by market variance, market standard deviation. In other words, this is what R equal to 1 means. R equal to 1 means that is there is no uncorrelation. So everything what is moving in portfolio is related with the market. So you can say it's perfect correlation with security and market, which means R equal to 1. And R equal to 1 means instead of the security market line, you can think capital market line, CML. And there's a formula, right? What is the formula? RF plus RM minus RF into portfolio risk by market risk, isn't it? The CML become SML. Okay, let me write down all these things. After this, let's compute this number. We'll write all these interpretation again. So it is like a quick recap of different theories in one place. So let's simplify. Then I have to take a square root also. So beta of portfolio, this number is 1.6223 into 1.6223 by 0.9498 by 0.9498, 2.9174, 2.9174. So beta of portfolio is square root of this one, square root of 2.9174. So square root of this 1.708. Point 6223 into 1.6223 by 0.9498 by 0.9498, 2.9174 square root. Point 708, right? Point 708, yeah, 0.708. .70. Okay, so 1.708 is the beta of the portfolio. Okay, hope you have taken down till there. Okay, so coming back, what we require? Jensen's alpha, that is a portfolio return minus APM return. So alpha portfolio return minus CAPM return. Oh, we have to calculate CAPM. Okay, then no problem. Portfolio return, that is average of portfolio. So calculate the average of portfolio return. And we need RM also, right? Yeah, need RM also. Okay, let's calculate that. Then I'll come to this. average market return. RM, or average security return, that is RP, or average portfolio return, not security, here we have portfolio, average portfolio return. So market return average, add on, so much is there, 0.82 plus 0.04, 0.82 plus 0.04 plus 2.8 plus 1.72 plus 0.27 plus 0.39 plus 1.95, 0.64. One point five three, 2.7. 2.5 to 2.09. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Sorry, 11. Sorry, what have I written? 1.39, 1.95, 0.64, 1.53, sorry, 1.53, 2.7. 0.64, 1.53, 2.7, 2.52, and 2.09. Twelve months. January to December. Okay. Divide by 12. So average market return. Uh, 1.4558. 1.4558. So that is the market return. Similarly, let's calculate average portfolio return. RP minus 0.52, 2.2, 2.17, 4.17, 2.04, 3. 1.99, 4, minus minus 1.38, 2.67, 3.99, 1.86. Divided by 12, average return. One point uh, 2.1825. 2.1825. I think that's what you're getting. Numbers 2.1825 to 1.4558. So let's calculate the alpha, the Jensen's alpha. Portfolio return is what you're generating, and based on the risk profile, what it was supposed to generate, that is CAPM. Portfolio return, we calculated average portfolio return 2.1825 minus CAPM return RF. RF is given in the problem 12% plus RM minus RF, that is RM we calculated now. Okay, 12% per annum. This is monthly return. This monthly return. Okay, that's also I should calculate. RF monthly. That is 12% divided by 12. You get 1%. So RF is 1. I mean RM 1.4558 minus 1. RM minus RF into beta. Beta is we calculated 1.708. Sorry, RF I have not written. RF1, RM minus RF 1.4558 minus 1, RM minus RF into beta 1.708. So 2.1825 minus CAPM is 1.4558 minus 1 into 1.708 plus 1, 1.7785. It's all per month, okay? 1.7785. So based on its risk profile, it was supposed to generate 1.7785, but it is able to generate this much. 1.7785 minus 2.1825, 0.404. It is able to generate excess return than this. And that is what it represents, 0.404. The excess return, the alpha. Okay, hope you have taken down till here. One more point I would like to make very quick clarification. In this problem, there is no unsystematic risk. Portfolio is fully diversified, which means there is nothing related to individual stock performance. It is only the market performance. In the sense, there is no micro factors. There are only macro factors. There is only systematic risk. In this case, the SML and CML will become same. Let me just write it for you. It's a value addition for this problem. So we had CML, capital market line. We had security market line, right? Capital market line, security market line. Capital market line is about representing total risk of security or total risk of portfolio. Whereas SML only talks about systematic risk of portfolio. Now, when there is no unsystematic risk, in the sense, if unsystematic risk is 0, both will be equal, right? Because total risk, if I remove unsystematic risk, that's what I'll get to systematic risk. And if that is equal to 0, I mean, that is therefore SML, CML equal to SML if there is no unsystematic risk. If there is no unsystematic risk, in other words, portfolio is fully diversified. Fully diversified. See, we may not be able to judge the new questions come in exam, but definitely whichever new question has come in the past, at least that we can prepare ourselves, right? So we don't know the new situation comes in life, but at least the situation has come in the past. If that is repeated, we should be able to do well in that. And if you follow this approach, let me tell you, you will do exceedingly well. So CML equal to SML. See, rather than just what they're asking, I'm going one step further. In the exam now, they can ask you this one. Assume CML is equal to SML, which means portfolio fully diversified, which means there is non-systematic risk, which means you can also tell R equal to 1, which means you can also tell beta of portfolio is standard deviation of portfolio by standard deviation of market. All means the same. R equal to 1, beta portfolio is standard deviation of P by standard deviation of 1. All of these things you can interpret. So if CML was used here, if CML is applied, what would be the portfolio return based on its risk? Remember the formula? It is RF plus RM minus RF into not beta into standard deviation of portfolio by standard deviation of market. RF, that is 1%, market return 1.4558 minus risk-free return 1 into standard deviation of portfolio. Standard deviation of portfolio given in the question. Portfolio standard deviation 1.6223, 0.9498. 1.6223 by 0.9498. Simplify, C will you get the same return as CAPM return. 1.4558 minus 1 into 1.6223 by 0.9498 plus 1, 1.7785, right? Which is same as CAPM. Same as CAPM. Yeah, security market line means CAPM only, don't forget that. I'm also going to represent this on a graph. One more part of the question is there. I'll complete it, then I'll show you. I'm also going to show you how to represent this in a graph and interpret in a clear manner. So please write down till here. Let me know if you have any doubt. Okay. Hope you have taken down. Let's go back to second part of the question, which is again a beautiful requirement. Very interesting, intelligent concept. Interesting one. Let's read. What part of monthly return is attributable to higher risk assumed by portfolio manager? Which is basically asking, market was taking some sort of risk. You have taken higher risk. Sir, how do you know it? Take a look at this. Market standard deviation was 0.9498. Your portfolio standard deviation was 1.6223. So your portfolio is more riskier than the market and are also equal to 1, fully diversified, which means how much extra you're taking this ratio. The ratio between the standard deviation is what? Beta. You got it, 1 point something. That way also you can analyze. See, portfolio standard deviation is higher, so high risky. Or beta of portfolio is more than 1, 1.708, which means what? For a systematic risk of 1, market beta understood to be 1. And your portfolio beta is 1.708. Therefore, your portfolio risk more than market risk. Portfolio standard deviation more than market standard deviation. So, portfolio is more riskier. Beta more than 1 only means you can say more riskier. So, that's what they're asking. You are assuming a risk higher than market portfolio, higher risk than market. So how much is return attributable to that? Now, first of all, market is giving how much of return? Market is giving RM, that is 1.4558. Do you also would have got 1.4558? Yes, you also would have got 1.4558 provided your return or your beta is equal to 1. Your risk same as market risk. But you have taken more risk. So what it is supposed to give you more return than this. In other words, it is your CAPM return minus market return. Let's write down in few sentences. Hope that should make you more clear. So return attributable to higher risk. Return attributable to higher risk. So we have markets or we have portfolio, let's say. We have portfolio, we have markets, portfolio standard deviation, (1.6223), market standard deviation 0.9498, which is greater, beta of portfolio 1.708, beta of markets, which is understood, implied to be 1. Okay, beta of market always 1 because beta 1.708 means if the market moves by 1%, the basis market moving by 1%. So beta of market is 1, is also greater than beta of market. So in this sense, you can tell portfolio is more riskier than market. Portfolio more riskier than market. So market is giving so much of return, that is RM. Market is giving so much of return. How much return? $1.4558. Then what is this portfolio return for this level of risk? Portfolio return for the beta of 1.708 means for this risk level, that is CAPM return. CAPM we have calculated 1.7785. 1.7785. Basically, this return attributable to higher risk of portfolio, you can simply say CAPM minus RM. That's all, you could have given the answer. That's all the question actually. CAPM minus RM. They wanted to ask you that question. CAPM minus RM. That's all they wanted to ask this question. So CAPM is 1.7785 minus RM is 1.4558. So this is what is the return attributable to higher risk. Return attributable to higher risk. Difference 1.7785 minus 1.4558 0.3227. Okay, so what is required in the problem? Little bit extra only, I have done it. Now, I will go few steps further. What are the other questions they might ask on the similar lines? Like risk premium of the portfolio, risk premium of the security or the market. So like that, if they ask you few more questions, how you can analyze and summary of that. I will go few extra steps and ultimately how these things will be represented in the graph. I would like to show you that. Before that, please take it down. If you have any doubt until here, please get clarified. First, let us make sure the exam problem is solved clearly. Then I'll go few extra miles. Okay, I hope you have done till here. Okay, I'll go few extra things. Let's see if we're able to understand. Okay, a few extra thing, additional questions they may ask. Additional calculations or additional parameters they can ask. Questions like this. What is the return attributable to risk possessed or risk taken by market? Remember, it is not the higher risk, it's the risk taken by the markets. What do you mean by this? Market, is it risk free? Market is not risk free. Market beta is not 0. Market beta is 1. Market standard deviation is not 0. Market risk is there. Market has taken risk. Market means what? General market, broad market index, Nifty, average return. That is, risk is not 0. They have taken some risk. So what is the return attributable to them? Nothing but RM minus RF. What is this? This is market risk premium. Market risk premium. Okay. One more thing I forgot. I have to explain here at this point only. Let me just calculate this number mathematical way. I'll come back to this in a moment. Okay. Sorry. So I'll just go back to the little bit backwards. It's like a movie. I think we are going for backward scene and front scene. Little bit of flashback. I have to tell you. Now, just read this question. What is the return attributable to higher risk taken by CAPM? Now, market also has taken risk. Market has taken 1 unit of risk. Okay. Market has taken 1 unit of risk. Beta equal to 1. Right? Beta equal to 1. And for this one, what is the return market is giving? In fact, that's what we are calculating. Market is premium. RM minus RF. That is 1.4458 minus 1. 1.4458 minus 1. that is 0.4458. Now 0.4458 is for the risk taken by the market. Now risk taken by the market, how much beta? This is for the beta of 1, right? This is the return for the risk premium. Return attributable to the risk taken by market. Market risk is 1 and extra return for that beta equal to 1. Now, what is the risk of portfolio? I mean, the heading I've calculated. Now, I'm doing one extra thing. What is the beta of portfolio? Beta of portfolio is 1.7785. No, 1.708. Okay, 1.708, right? 1.708. So one risk is taken by the beta already. So what is the additional risk this portfolio is taking? One is market risk. 1.08, 1.708 is portfolio risk. So what is the additional risk? Risk is only additional. And what is additional risk? Additional risk by portfolio as compared to market. That is 0.708, can I say? Over and above 1.1, over and above 1, within 1.708. So 0.708. Now, can you tell me what will be this return for the portfolio? Means if you take 1 unit of risk, you will get the return premium for that 0.4458 and you are taking 0.708 risk. For that, how much return you are supposed to get? 0.4458 into 0.708 divided by 1. 0.4458 into 0.008 divided by 1. 0.31. 31. No? Is calculation fine? Somewhere something wrong? Point 0.4548. Okay. 0.4548. Sorry. Okay. 0.4548. 0.4558. Sorry. 0.4558. 0.4558. Sorry. 0.4558. 0.455. Just please calculate now. 0.4558 into 0.708 divided by 1. You got 0.3227. That's exactly same number, right? 0.3227. This is exactly what we have calculated earlier. 0.3227. I'm going to represent this. Don't worry. I hope you are able to understand this interesting calculations, which I believe is I'm not going to do in any other problem, and I don't think it's asked in exam also anywhere else. But this is a situation where all the previous concepts are getting summarized in one place with different interpretations. Same concept, different way of interpreting it, different way of calculating it. Okay, if I ask you what is the risk premium, or let's say return attributable to, okay, I'll write in the next slide. I hope you have taken down till here. So the question, the answer for this one, what is return attributable to risk, and that is 0.4558. That's all the answer. But I've gone one step further and reconciled with the question asked in the exam. How you could calculate the return attributable to the portfolio. Extra risk, higher risk, not the regular risk, higher risk. So I'll select the next one. Return attributable to the risk taken by portfolio. Nothing but same thing. We will calculate return of portfolio minus RF, that is CAPM. Okay, CAPM return. Return of portfolio means I will take it as CAPM return, not the actual portfolio. So return attributable to the risk taken by portfolio. This is portfolio risk premium. Portfolio risk premium. So return of portfolio, CAPM return 1.7785 minus risk-free rates rate, that is 1. So you get 0.7785. Sir, is this the same question as what is asked in the problem? No. Read what is asked in the problem. They asked return attributable to what? Return attributable to higher risk, right? Higher risk. The word higher risk is there. Higher risk means higher risk than market. That is why compared with the market. If they just ask you in the question, return attributable to risk possessed, return attributable to risk possessed, then I will just say RP minus RF, CAPM, or you can also calculate RM minus RF multiplied by beta. That also will give you same answer. RM is 1.4558, 1.4558 minus 1 into beta 1.708. That should also give you same answer. 0.7785. Okay, if they ask you ultimately what is the total risk premium achieved by the portfolio, this is not the CAPM, it is not what is supposed to be returned, what is actual premium achieved. That will be return of portfolio, which is actual minus risk-free rates, and that is actual return of portfolio, average return of portfolio 2.1825. 2.1825 minus risk-free rate 1.1825. This is some additional calculations. Okay. Okay. Now let me try to briefly represent all these things in the graph. Just take a look at the problem so far. I'll give you 2 minutes. Just glance everything we have interpreted in this problem. From the beginning, what is asked in the question, about portfolio, standard deviation, beta, CML, SML, what is asked, what we calculated, what additional thing we have calculated, everything. I'll give you 2 minutes. Just glance through it. Okay. Now what we are going to do, I will represent all these in the graph. So when you're able to visualize, calculation should become clear, interpretation should be clear, and concept also should be clear. Let's represent in the graph. Hope this will give a clarity to all our understanding. So let us draw a graph, try to draw a straight line. For me, I'll try. So this is 0. On x-axis, we represent risk, which is beta. On y-axis, we represent returns, R. This is what is x-axis risk and y-axis market. Returns, R. And the line goes like this. This is SML or CAPM, security market line. That is the representation of CAPM. This is risk-free rate, RF, risk-free rate. And we will plot beta equals to 1. This is market risk. Therefore, corresponding to this, we will get RM, market return. Then we will get the beta equals to the portfolio beta. What is portfolio beta here? Beta equals to 1.708. Yes, 1.708. And for that, how much they are supposed to get? That is CAPM return. CAPM return, or you can say cost of equity. What it is supposed to generate. I'll just say CAPM return. CAPM return. Then what is the actual return? Okay, let me write. I think actual return is above. So I'll just write it here. One dot 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 dot. For the same beta, the actual return. I'll just say actual. Okay, now let us write with the numbers. Risk-free rate 1, right? Risk-free rate is 1. I'll just write somewhere here. I need a little bit of more space, so I'll rewrite once more. This is RF. This is RM. This is CAPM. And this is actual. All are returns. Now, risk-free rate is equal to 1. This is what risk-free rate, this point. RM, this number, what is RM? 1.4558, 1.4558, and CAPM return 1.7785, 1.7785. And actual return 2.1825. 2.1825. Okay, now what is this CAPM return? What we have expected here, but what we have got here, the expected return on the security market line, but actual return is over, is actually underpriced. It is to be purchased, if you remember, for a security. This is what we call it as alpha. To be specific, Jensen's alpha. How much was Jensen's alpha? That is 2.1825 minus 1.7785, 0.402, right? This gap, we have got 0.404. Is that what we got in the first answer? 0.404. Yes, 0.404 alpha. And this 0.404 is, what is this? Attributable to the skill of manager. So this 0.404 is to the sheer skill, ability, efficiency of portfolio manager. He is able to generate more than CAPM return. He is able to generate more risk, more return than what the risk would have given you normally. So it is because of the skill of portfolio manager. Now, this 0.17785 minus 1.4558, what is that gap? 1.7785 minus 1.4558, 0.3227 is what they are asking the second part of the question. Are you able to understand the second part of the question? That is to the additional risk return for additional risk by the portfolio, because up to market has risk, you are taking more risk, additional risk than market. Return for additional risk than market, return for additional risk than markets, return for additional risk than market. Second part of the question, right? What they're asking in the problem. And what else they can ask? From this to this, 1.4558 minus 1. This is what? 0.4558. This is return for market risk or market risk premium. Return for market risk. Return for market risk. And I have calculated two more things. What is that? If I take it from CAPM return, this to this, that is, if I take it from CAPM return to risk-free rate, this number 1.7785 minus 1, I called as portfolio risk premium implied, and actual, if I take from actual to risk-free rate, and that means that is the actual portfolio risk premium achieved. I have calculated towards the end. That is CAPM to risk-free rate or actual return to risk-free rate. I hope this gave you a good clarity regarding the visual presentation and the formula and the interpretation. Okay, I'll just quickly, instead of this graph, I'll just write this parameter and we'll just summarize this problem so that this will get over completely. Okay, so what and all we had? We had a risk-free rate, we had market return, we had what else? We have CAPM return, and we had actual return of portfolio. So what and all we'll call it? RM to RF, market risk premium, CAPM to RF, portfolio risk premium, actual return to RF. This is portfolio risk premium achieved, actual portfolio risk premium achieved, portfolio risk premium achieved, that is actual return to RF. Then this actual to CAPM is what we say alpha, Jensen's alpha, attributable to skill of manager. CAPM to RM, this is return for additional risk, return for higher risk than market. This is the complete picture of different questions that they can ask. But one more thing, if you compare this actual with market, that is outperformance over benchmark. If I take this actual and market return, this number, this is what people usually say. On Nifty has given 12%, my portfolio has given 13%, I am able to score 1% more than market. This is outperformance over market or benchmark. They'll ask you, like, they can ask you use this word also. Outperformance over benchmark. Outperformance over benchmark. I think all permutation combinations, what they can ask you, I have included. This is how you prepare. You understand? One different question they ask in the examination. But when you prepare, don't prepare only that. What else they can ask? They can ask you same question also, or they can ask you a little bit extra question like this. So you should be fully prepared. So we don't know what new question really comes. But at least whichever has come, let's try to understand, interpret holistically. So in examination, hopefully, even if new question comes, we will be in a better position to face it. Okay, so I think that completes this problem. Hopefully, it gave a better overview of all the formulas, the charts, interpretation, and all these theories. Good.